Do Suicide Squad fans deserve to be on their own little island of misunderstood fans, or do they deserve to be welcomed into the larger fandom of DC? I haven't seen this movie since I saw it in theaters, and I actually thought it was okay and had some really good moments. So I think this is going to be a really easy defense. One of the main complaints I saw about this movie was that after the amazing trailers set something up that was awesome, WB actually turned over editing control to the trailer company, and all of a sudden we just get this mishmash of unconnected scenes with all this stuff that felt like it was more made for a 30-second moment than for a 2-hour long movie. It might hit you a little over the head with some of the music with each character introduction. But I thought it worked pretty well, even on this second showing, and within the first 20 minutes I felt okay about that. After all, we're just being introduced to these characters. Now, later on in the film, it kind of felt a little weird, especially with some of the music choices and with some of the moments and parts of the script that they decided to keep in that made really for great trailer moments, but not necessarily for a good movie. I'm specifically thinking about the scene where Amanda Waller actually shoots a bunch of people and then Will Smith makes some sort of quip.
Damn, that is just a mean lady.
And even though this didn't bother me at first, those little silhouettes with all of the new characters getting their own little text and stuff like that, and it seemed pretty lazy. So the trailer cuts in the beginning were okay, but it didn't really work for the rest of the movie. I'm gonna say that's an indefensible thing, and I'm getting a bad feeling about this defense already. Speaking of the character introductions, I want to take a look at some of the casting in this movie. Will Smith as Deadshot, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, etc., etc. Now this is definitely Deadshot and Harley Quinn centric. We get the most backstory from them. And I'm going to say the cast did a really great job, and I think we did get some good show-me moments from Deadshot and Harley Quinn. A little underrated is Jai Courtney's performance as Captain Boomerang, who kind of takes on a different aspect of the character that I really, really like. And while I do understand why some critics would say things like, nobody cares about the rest of the Suicide Squad, Rick Flag is really boring, Katana with this particularly famous scene.
This is Katana. She's got my back. She can cut all you in half with one sword stroke, just like mowing the lawn. I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
Overall, I think the casting was really good, and this is something I would find defensible. What about some of the worst characters in this movie? How can that possibly be defensible? So here's the deal on Jared Leto's Joker. Did that work for me on the second viewing? It actually didn't. And it didn't really work for me on the first viewing either, because he seemed like, well, how did you put it, pitch meeting guy?
A douchebag.
But here's the thing, and this is why this character is defensible even though it didn't work for me. This character is just a new interpretation of the Joker. And we have tons of new interpretations of the Joker all the time. This Joker is supposed to be more on that gangster Joker. Did it work for some people? No, but is this a defensible thing? Absolutely. As long as we're still on villains, time to defend the worst villain in this movie. And you might be surprised as to why this actually makes sense. The Enchantress. I know everybody hates her. This particular part was super embarrassing, but let's break down a little bit more about this character. When we talk about good characters, we're looking for what does the character want? Why can't they have what they want? Enchantress wants people to worship her and her brother as the gods they feel like they rightly are. Why can't they have what they want? Well, people don't really care. Or they just are more worshiping of technology. So what do? Destroy their technology. Build a machine that will destroy them. Because after all, if they don't want to worship you, well, they may as well just all die. Me just saying that makes it feel like that motivation does make sense. While the performance didn't really work for me, I can see why this could be a very compelling villain, so I'm going to put it under defensible. But what about the story and the overall writing? This movie is all about control. And if you want to see a great video about breaking down this theme of control, Wisecrack made a video about it that you can check out right up here. If you're a fan, it is still a defensible part about the movie, that there are deeper themes, that there's a deeper idea here. of Amanda Waller's control over the Suicide Squad, of the Suicide Squad trying to gain control over themselves, the Joker controlling Harley Quinn. It's all about controlling who exercises it. Now, obviously, there is no real payoff because the Suicide Squad just goes back to jail in the end. But the idea that this film is just completely devoid of any deeper meaning, I would say no. And the last thing to examine here is the third act of the film, which is a big sky beam and a CGI battle. Is it bland? Is it boring? Sure it is. But if you do like that structure within superhero movies, and there's probably a lot of people who do, you're not going to mind this at all. So for that part of it, I'm going to say that's defensible. I went in with a positive attitude, thinking this was going to be really easy, and it turns out this was pretty hard to find the defensible things. I felt like I really had to dig and actually disagree with things that normally I would agree with, because I had to go in with an open mind. The fact of the matter is, we also have to be open about our first impressions of things. Just because we have an opinion about something shouldn't mean that we're locked into that. Nor does it mean we should expect other people to be locked into that too. Which is why I actually think the fans of Suicide Squad can be pretty misunderstood as being maybe they don't know the characters well enough, or they may not be true fans or whatever. But Suicide Squad fans, if you're on the island of misunderstood fans, I'm going to build a bridge and welcome you to the table of fandom. And hopefully you'll enjoy the new Suicide Squad movie coming out this weekend. If you want to see me defend other DC movies, I have a whole playlist right up here you can check out. Be sure to subscribe if you like this content, and I will see you in the next video.